My friends, the great experiment.
Prodigy.
Prodigy. Hidden. Trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Adam Pranica.
I'm Ben Harrison.
Big day because we don't, as a rule, ever have guests on our shows. Why would we? Aren't we enough?
You got to get up pretty early in the morning to qualify to be a guest on The Greatest Generation or Greatest Trek.
Look, you got to get through the pre-screen with Wynde, the drug test with Bill.
Sure.
I don't know what kind of test Rob puts you through, but, I mean, can't be too comfortable.
Does Wynde pre-screen like a segment producer for a late night show where she makes sure your anecdotes are pithy and amusing?
She did a great job.
We got a very special guest on the show today. A man I was a little bit embarrassed to step to the mic to talk to.
I was so excited to play the third in what was going to happen.
He turned out to be such a peach. Why don't you sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview with the great Wil Wheaton.
Would you look at that?
Wil Wheaton, a multi-hyphenate in the truest sense, most popular to us maybe as Wesley Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation, the show that we named our show after. And the inspiration for one of the most embarrassing stories ever told on our podcast, Wil Wheaton. Welcome to The Greatest Generation.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, and now I need to hear that story.
Okay, when I was about 7, 8, 9 years old, I went to summer camp one year and didn't know anybody at the summer camp. So perfect opportunity to adopt a new identity.
Yeah.
So I went around introducing myself to everyone as Wesley because Wesley Crusher was my favorite character on Star Trek The Next Generation.
I love this. And you were instantly the most popular kid there, right?
Oh, yeah. Nobody thought it was weird.
Yeah, nobody was weird about it at all. Yeah, like that is exactly the right response to that choice.
Yeah. The really brutal part was like the one friend I did make at that summer camp, I then like went over to his house later, when the school year had started, and I was like, hey, so I have to tell you something.
Uh-oh.
My name is not really Wesley. It's Ben. I just really like Wesley Crusher on Star Trek The Next Generation, and I thought I could like be him for a summer.
Yeah.
And I never heard from that kid again.
That kid chose poorly.
Yeah, we all do embarrassing things in our childhoods that keep us up at night, and you're the inspiration for one of my sleepless night companions.
I've heard over the years that I've been responsible for late night thoughts from people, but never a sleepless night.
Apologies for that being the thing that we open this with, but it's been something we've talked about for years on our show. But you have your own podcast coming out, and we're really excited to hear about it.
Thank you. It's called It's Storytime with Wil Wheaton. It is a weekly audiobook podcast where I'll narrate a new work of short genre fiction that I absolutely love, that was found for me by the tremendous editors of Uncanny Magazine, Lynn and Michael Thomas. And this all came about because one of my oldest friends, who I've known since we were in high school, has always written stories, and he has always wanted to be a writer, and he was finally published recently. And then I thought, wait a minute, maybe this is a podcast idea. Maybe there's a podcast idea where I narrate work from unknown authors, from people who are just getting started, who tell really wonderful stories, just looking for an audience. Just, the people that want to love their work are there. They just don't know about it. Around that time, LeVar Burton was winding down his podcast, LeVar Burton Reads, which is one of my absolute favorite podcasts of all time. And the thing that I thought of that would make it different, the why do you want to do this, Will, answer was,
To show LeVar Burton how you could really get it done.
Finally, someone's going to stick it to LeVar
not
Burton.
that. Absolutely not that. That's how Mirror Universe Will thought of it. LeVar and I were at the airport. We were going to a convention together.
Were you both up front, or one of you in first and one of you in economy?
We were both up front.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear.
Did you choose to break this news to him in an airport because like no weapons available past security?
No, I hadn't even thought of that. But actually, now that you mentioned it, good thinking, Will, from the past.
Safe spot, yeah.
Because LeVar Burton will cut a fool, you know.
He will take you down so fast. So he and I are talking about like, what's going on? What's new in life? How's the kids? How's your family? And I was like, dude, I got to tell you about this thing that I'm working on because it's inspired by you. And if you are offended or insulted or feel that I'm stepping on your toes or stealing your bit, I'm not going to do it. Like, you have the right to say no to this because this would not exist if you weren't already doing it. And he didn't even hesitate. He was like, I love that you're doing that. I'm so excited for you to do it. Yeah, it's okay with me that you're doing it. It's more than okay with me that you're doing it. I will help you.
That rules.
Do you want anything? Do you have any questions? Do you need to talk to anybody? Is there anything I can do to be helpful? Here is my blessing. Let me support you. And I was just like, it was hard not to cry in that moment because I felt the moments in my life where I feel like someone's son, where I feel like someone's son who is loved and supported. Those moments have been so rare, I could probably go through them without using up all 10 of my fingers. I grew up in a house where my dad did not love me and was abusive and cruel, and my mom exploited me and made me work and enabled my dad and sort of used me as a human shield so that his rage would never get through to her. I felt like I lived in a house with strangers. I wasn't part of a family. I became part of the family when I worked on Star Trek.
Yeah.
The adults on Star Trek, we've talked about it. They had no idea what I was going through at home. I hid it very well, like all abused kids do. And I loved their love and support and acceptance of me. And a lot of the times in my life where I have felt like a son who is genuinely beloved by his family, that has been instigated by something that Gates did, or Patrick did, or Frakes did, or in this instance, LeVar did. And it felt so good and it felt so validating. And it was like LeVar gave me this incredible gift. And I carried that with me into production.
Will, you've had a podcast before and then stopped it for some years.
Yeah, Radio Free Burrito.
You had a chance to be free. You had a chance to escape the life sentence that Ben and I are currently serving. Why? Why come back?
When I started my blog 25 years ago, I was at a moment in my life where I felt like my whole life I had been defined by other people. As I grew up and kind of discovered that I don't really like acting, and I especially don't like on-camera acting. I really don't like being on the set and doing the same scene for hours at a time. And, if I have to make a choice, I would rather be a voice actor. I would rather be a writer.
Is Rob Bauman like the Stanley Kubrick of television directing? What don't we know about some of these early directors you work with?
Rob Bauman was rad. We called him the kid because he was in his early 20s when he was directing us.
Yeah.
He was really great. And I think that he did a lot of really, really great episodes. I felt very seen by him.
Yeah. We're big fans.
And really, really enjoyed working with him.
Speaking of like using your voice, we're just jumping into season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy, which you have a big role on.
I do.
I wonder, like, how different is the toolkit for performing a character? I mean, a character that you created a long time ago in this new way as a voice actor versus creating all of the characters in a book that you're reading.
A really good question. My friend Jen was writing on Prodigy, so we just sat down together as friends and just talked about the character. And then we took that conversation and then we talked as writers about what we would do with it. And then we took all of that and we talked about it as Star Trek fans, one of who actually gets to write for Prodigy, and like kind of put a lot of that stuff into the story.
Yeah, how many sweater bits can we get in the first 30 seconds?
Dude, we had, and there's so many that didn't make the cut. There's so many that didn't actually go through. We had so much fun with that. Finding that version of Wesley was really fun for me because we found him by running through every mad scientist we could think of. So do this scene as Christopher Eccleston's doctor. Do this scene as Tennant's doctor. Do this scene as Ian Malcolm. Do this scene as Doc Brown. And we did them over and over and over again. And every one of those guys had a little something that worked in one place and didn't work in all the other places. All of that kind of came together into this little stew that I guess I sort of like decanted into a form that we then put in the freezer. And when we popped it off, there's Wesley Crusher, the Traveler.
He's been alone for a long time, it seems.
Yeah, he really has. And then it was real fun to imagine, well, what does his world look like to him? What are the stakes here? Like, what does he care about? And that thing where he's like, listen, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm going to get in trouble, but I love this universe. It's the one I came from. Like, everyone I know and care about lives here. Of course I'm going to protect it. Mm-hmm. Wesley has grown up to be a being in reality whose entire purpose is to help. I love that about him. Finding him and being able to just be in the booth and not feel self-conscious about, am I hitting my mark? Where's my light? How does my hair look? I am so self-conscious of my crooked teeth. Like, I didn't have to think about any of that stuff. It's just my voice.
Did you have notes for the animators about how you looked?
I got to consult a little bit. I was like, listen, I know you didn't ask, but I really want him to wear Doc Martens, 17 eyelet Doc Martens. I just want him to have stompy boots. It's really important to me. And I think it would be cool if he wore one of those coats that sci-fi guys wear. Like, what if we put it in one of those Doctor Who coats? You know, it's like hello, welcome to science fiction. Here is your coat. Here is your physics breaking communications device. And here's your MacGuffin. Have a good time. But put on that coat.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was like an Okana coat, like a character that made a huge impression on Wesley at the beginning.
Oh my God, you're right. It's so Billy Campbell as Okona. I cannot believe I had not made that connection until right now. You're absolutely. It's the sci-fi guy code. Yeah. It's what we get. It's like they
you
have
got
them at the shop. Yeah. You go to Sci-Fi Mart, and that's it. The women's section is bikinis, and the men's section is coats. That's it. That's all you get.
Well, we ask everybody that comes on our show who their drunk Shimoda was from whatever cast they were in, and
that's such a deep cut.
It's a deep cut.
A great pull! Oh my God, that's such a good pull.
It's a part of every show we do, and it was a scene that you had a big role in. So I feel like we couldn't possibly finish this interview without asking you. I mean, from your entire involvement with Trek, which spans many series and many, many years.
Yeah.
When we nominate one at the end of an episode of our show, it is usually the character that is acting strange. You know, sometimes it's a background actor that, you know, bumps into something and it distracts you. Yeah. But it's also the character that's having the most fun. Like what actor got the funnest part in this and really got to sink their teeth into it? Who was having the most fun on set that day? Do you have a drunk Shimoda from all of time and space to nominate?
I have had more phenomenal, I can't believe I got to be part of this experiences than I think I am fully aware of, because I went to the shelf in my brain where those experiences lived. And what I found actually was sort of like a drawer that's so stuffed full of things that I can barely open it because they're like bursting out. The thing that immediately comes to mind is Robbie McNeil as Locarno when we worked on The First Duty.
Wow.
We had such a good time together. And he did so much with that character that they basically changed his name and gave him a role on Voyager, right? Yeah. But I remember Robbie telling me he was on a show, and I think he had been cast on a soap opera. And there was another actor that he was supposed to have tons and tons and tons of work with. But when they were on the set together, they made each other laugh so much that the production got impatient with them and rewrote their character arcs so they would never be in a scene together.
Oh man.
Because they couldn't pull it off. And he told me this as a cautionary tale on the second day of production of that episode, because he and I had become those guys.
Well, Wil Wheaton, it has been a real treat to get to spend a little bit of time with you, somebody whose work has meant a whole lot to me and Adam and our listeners. Can you tell folks how to find the show? Because as of the release of this, it will be out.
That's amazing. My podcast is called It's Storytime with Wil Wheaton. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can search for my name or search for It's Storytime with Wil Wheaton and you'll find it. There will always be a link to the most recent episode on my blog at wilwheaton.net. I've treated this as very much a proof of concept, a testing the waters, a limited series to find out if the audience is there.
Yeah.
So audience, if you like this and you want more of it, honestly, like and subscribe, rate and review, all those things podcasters say to do.
Be careful what you ask for. What happened to us was we now make a Star Trek podcast.
Yeah.
Because
for life.
I mean, you guys, that doesn't sound like the worst thing, if I'm being honest.
It's not the worst.
That sounds great.
Good job by you, Will, avoiding the celebrity rewatching their own show and doing an episode about it type of format. Nice dodge.
Thanks. What's so funny is that I would actually love to rewatch Star Trek with anybody else in Star Trek and talk about what we remember from when we made it. I think that would be kind of fun. Sirach Lofton has been watching Next Generation, and we ran into each other at the Picard season 3 premiere. And he came up to me and I was like, oh my God. Okay. First of all, you're so tall. And I can't even remember the last time we saw each other. And he said, I'm watching Next Generation and I was too young. I didn't appreciate you and I didn't get what you did and what you did for me. And I was like, we need to get together, just you and me, not for a podcast, just together and talk about what it was like to be kids on Star Trek.
Yeah.
We are the only two people in the world who know what that means.
Yeah.
And that led to us having pretty regular conversations, just friendly, chats about these things. And in their podcast, they came up on the Next Generation's episode, The Game.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you want to come on and talk about it?" And I did, and it was so fun. It's something that I haven't done before.
Anytime you get asked to talk about Suck Disc, you got to do it.
I called it Suck Disc too. Did you ever see the T-shirt? Somebody made a T-shirt that was like, "Hey, want to play Wesley? Want to play Suck Disc?"
The parents are worried about their kids playing Suck Disc with each other.
Oh man! So it's all the Suck Disc kids.
Yeah.
It's like this kids recovery group.
That shot of them forcing you to play the game and that is more disturbing to me than anything in Clockwork Orange.
The guy who directed that episode was named Corey Allen. May his memory be a blessing. He directed our pilot. He directed episodes that always had real big character stories. The producers loved him. We loved him. He was weird, but in a really wonderful way. When we were doing coverage, he would be off camera and he would be going through whatever emotions we were going through as characters. He was feeling it and he was and sometimes it was so expressive that it was distracting and other actors were watching the movie. He meant well, right?
Yeah.
And he had a big, beautiful heart. And this episode, it was so weird, man. I remember that they made a choice that when you were playing Suck Disc, your body's reward was somehow orgasmic. It was that style of pleasure. Mm-hmm. And he just got weirdly horny with it in the descriptions of us, describing it and was talking some of us through things with really grossly explicit descriptions of things that were uncomfortable and weird.
Uncle director right there. Yeah.
I get it. I understand. I totally understand what you're going for. It is not having the intended results. Like, I'm not finding the helpful inspirations that I think you are hoping to deliver to us. I feel self-conscious and weird. So I watched the game, in preparation for talking to Sirach about it. And I was like, I'd forgotten about all of that. I'd buried how weirdly horny and gross all of this was. When I saw that happen to me, I was like, oh man, this is so gross and cringy. I remember all of it. I remember Ashley and me sitting on there, like, basically, I don't know, faking tiny little orgasms or whatever, when Riker comes in and is like, hey, are you guys on drugs? Just making sure.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Yeah. So when I rewatched it, I was just like, oh God, no, this is terrible. Like, thank God Sub Rosa exists, because if Sub Rosa didn't exist, like, we would definitely be the most uncomfortable, weirdly horny episode this side of Captain's Holiday.
I love the game. It's one of my favorite episodes for sure.
Yeah.
I really, really like it too.
Well, Wil Wheaton, it has really been a little slice of heaven having you on the show, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope to run into you at a con one of these days, and best of luck with your new show. It sounds really great. Can't wait to listen.
I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to be here, and for sharing your audience with me, for just introducing me to the people who trust you and look forward to listening to you.
Yeah, I mean, we're just stealing that audience from you. I mean, I think that I think they already know, but
hopefully this is mutually beneficial for all of us.
I hope so. Yeah.
And for everyone listening, I really hope you'll check out Storytime with Wil Wheaton.
Well, if this doesn't work out, maybe slash fiction reading could be the next step.
That's a great idea. And actually, I'm gonna work on my Walker Texas Ranger podcast.
Love it.
Maybe I can put those things together. You've given me a lot to think about.
This time next year, you're going to have an entire audio empire. This is amazing.
We'll have to do this again when the next show drops. Thanks a lot, Will.
Thanks, you guys. Enjoyed talking with you.
You too.
Have a great time.
Take care. Pretty amazing. Wil Wheaton has committed to a life of podcasting. We did our best. I'm sure you heard it. We tried to talk him out of it.
We tried, I think we stand as a cautionary tale athwart the history of podcasting.
Yeah. He conveys such a positive air about him. We were really trying to get him to think realistically about this whole podcast thing. He's in that part of it where, at the time of this recording, the show hasn't come out yet. The dream is still alive.
I mean, he knows, right? He's been there before.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear when he said, he's been doing internet shit for 23 years. I'm like, oh yeah, he was first wave interneter.
I remember following a link off of Boing Boing to his blog at one point, and it was a very personal thing. This very early thing on his website where he talked about what it was like to be Wil Wheaton and all of the fucking shit he got for being Wesley Crusher, and how he had to just build armor around himself to be a person who was okay and able to move through the world despite this incredibly weird parasocial relationship that millions of people had with him.
And then you went and told him that story about choosing to be Wesley. That had to be a trip.
Yeah. It all comes full circle. And it comes full circle again on today's episode of Prodigy because he's in it.
Yeah. The reason for the season, Wil Wheaton. Coming up as we discussed Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episode 9, The Devourer of All Things, Part 1.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
On my mark, go fast.
So the Infinity ship is at warp, and we get Gwyn's log talking about it's been a long road getting from there to here. And we're not even at the halfway point in the season, but we're talking about the ways this has changed the crew. And that's most evident in Zero, but interesting to think about, the ways these characters have been affected by what they've gone through up until now.
This seems to be given a lot of oxygen episode to episode, maybe even season to season on this show, which is the idea of a character having some feelings about a situation that isn't great, and also having some feelings about the friends who have decided to go along with them for it.
Yeah.
And this is that moment in this episode. Gwyn, like, looks down at her armband and she's like, well, if this thing ever blurps away, I'm fucked. and she, like, takes a look around the rest of the ship and she's like, you know, and if I blurp away, what chance do these folks have of living through this mission, you know? I kind of need to stick around.
It was kind of a single point of failure team of Star Trek people here.
Yeah, I mean, this mission is really life or death in just so many ways, with Gwyn being the primary, like, locus of that.
Yeah.
And also, on some level, Chakotay being very important also, right?
Sure. There's also a real heart in this little sequence at the beginning of this episode with all of the characters in various ways expressing a urge to see the Protostar that felt it really strongly to me like wanting to go home. Like they are homesick and like, is the toilet still clogged on the Infinity ship? Do we know that right now? Maybe that's kind of where most of that energy is coming from, is that
is rough.
The most skilled engineer among them has caused, you know, it's a kind of an unstoppable force, immovable object situation.
Hey, Zero, great decision getting a corporeal body, because now you got to take a dump.
I mean, it's often been said that good writers ask interesting questions and great writers answer them. And this show has answered the question, can Jankum Pog take a shit so massive that he can't unclog the toilet it went into?
What kind of podcasters are we, in your mind, given that?
Bad kind. We're not on the good to great scale, I don't think.
Kind of a miraculous thing happens in this scene. We get a bunch of "Are we there yet?" type questions.
Yeah.
And then we're finally there.
It just happens.
Like, that never happens.
I mean, I've got young children. I know that "Are we there yet?" is going to be a part of my life over the next 5 to 10 years.
The key is never going anywhere, Ben. Then you never get the question.
But I would relish the "Are we there yet?" and just be like, "Yep."
Are you attracted to an RV lifestyle? Because, like, that seems to be the tableau of the inside of the Infinity ship.
If you'd asked me that, like, a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, nope, not at all. Couldn't care less.
Is it the bathroom thing or is it something else?
Well, I have found that the algorithm has pegged me as RV curious because I get fed so many walkthroughs of new fancy RVs in scrolling around online.
New RVs are kind of amazing. They're like private jets.
I know. And I'm like, I'm never going to spend a fucking $100,000 or whatever those things cost on one. But I like the walkthroughs. Watch those every time.
When I worked at big airplane company, I had the occasion to be on board like some private business jets, like of the commercial aircraft size.
Wow.
Like the company would also sell those. And it struck me that like you can achieve a level of wealth where you can go barefoot on a plane and be like comfy as hell. That is that fuck you barefoot on a plane money.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not the vibes on the Infinity ship.
No, not at all.
They come out of warp and they're there yet, but it's not what they were expecting. It's just an asteroid field. There's no planet. There's lots of disappointment.
Oh, right.
Disappointed!
We understand that the planet is actually there. What it is it's out of phase with the Infinity ship. And so Roktak proposes the idea of combining transporters and shields as a way to reveal the planet. And guess what? It works. But what's interesting about what the exterior shot tells you is that it's not that they used their tech to get the planet on their level. It's that they got the ship on the planet's level when all the asteroids go away. I thought that was a really efficient way to convey what actually happened if you don't understand the words that are coming out of Roktak's terrifying mouth.
This episode has so many like very complex technical ideas in it that I found interesting to see. I mean, like we've already talked about how much this show does not pull its nerd out punches for its younger, stupid kid audience.
It's beating the shit out of our kids.
Yeah, but I love the visuals of the kind of like lensing of reality as the asteroids disappear and the planet appears. This is where Gwyn went when she like beeped and booped on her armband, right? Does that mean she could take her armband off? Would she be in phase of this planet?
Maybe, but do you want to do that if you're Gwyn? It seems like an incredible risk.
It does seem risky. It's a desert planet, Adam. A ziggurat planet.
Yeah, this is the kind of new blocky construction you often see in neighborhoods that are gentrifying. Like, it's real block on block, and down into the center of this structure, the Infinity ship goes until it lands.
This structure looks so much like the building in the middle of the desert level in Mario 64. I cannot imagine that it is not in some way a reference to that.
We got to get Waltke on the line to answer that very important question.
He did say that he would be available to us if we wanted to try calling him.
All right.
Should we try calling him?
Yeah, maybe we'll feather that in later.
Okay. The second the ship starts descending into this, I was like, who are they going to not help get back up out of this place? Because
this is kind of a thing on this show. The ship is down deep in some sort of well-type cavernous space.
Sure is. It's pretty empty seeming. It's dusty in there.
My skin kind of crawled from this, Ben. This reminded me of, remember the Sesame Street episode where Bert and Ernie go into the sarcophagus or whatever? They go into the ancient pyramids and the mummies wake up behind them. One of the scariest moments of my childhood.
Oh,
remember
man.
that?
I'm not that far into my Sesame Street rewatch, so
do not let Daron watch that episode. Whatever you do.
I was terrified of Guy Smiley when I was a kid.
I'm Guy Smiley!
Yeah, no one normal smiles like that.
No, it's fucked up, right? That guy's sick.
The greatest trek is yet to come.
So it's very spooky. It feels very Stargate down there. And finally, the group arrives at a very large statue of the Traveler. And we know it's the Traveler because of his giant three-fingered sausage hands. But the Traveler is not familiar to the kids, so they don't really grasp the significance of this.
I also wondered what the significance of two travelers, because it's like two travelers like kind
Who'd
of
you
live.
think the other one was?
Was it not the Traveler?
I don't know. I couldn't get a good look at whether or not there were sausage fingers on the other or not, or really like what their face looked like or anything.
Yeah, there's some spooky, echoey speech that did get an Eric Meniak voice credit for it. So like, and it seems like that there's something argumentative happening, but it's very hard to follow what is exactly being discussed. And these kids just keep going. They keep going deeper into the haunted house.
Yeah, I feared for them when they arrived at the door to a vault, an anachronistic vault door in a place like this, it seemed.
Yeah.
And it opens right up on its own. They don't even have to like turn the big wheel or anything or do any combination lock stuff to it. It just opens up.
It's not a terrifying Steve Zahn back there.
No, there's not time that needs to be spent with a drill with a super long bit, slowly like going through shots of water in order to penetrate. Yeah. Yeah. Guess who's behind this door, Ben?
It's Wesley!
Wesley, the boy.
The boy.
Old Wesley Crusher.
My son.
And he has not changed sweaters in years.
This moment happens, and I'm like, so this is where he lives? The questions about Wesley Crusher and what his life is like start here. And brother, they do not end for the entire runtime of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's good writers ask interesting questions. Great writers answer them. Aaron Waltke poses so many questions you can't fucking even believe.
Yeah, Waltke's flooding the zone with Wesley Crusher questions. But we don't get to be here very long. We cut back over to Voyager A, where they followed the trail of the Infinity ship to the abandoned Borg's transwarp conduit they used. And in her ready room, Janeway is claiming that she's mostly concerned with the safety of the kids on this mission, which seems pretty generous by her given the circumstances, right?
Yeah, the doctors, Mark and Gnome.
Oh, hi, Mark.
And Tusk.
Dr. Mark and Dr. Tusk have some security camera footage with that spooky sound in it. So Janeway knows that something actually did come and take the Gwyn hologram. And this is the entity that seems to be able to manipulate time. And that is of great concern to Janeway. The idea that one of their crew would be hunted by something that powerful is a thing that she cannot abide.
Ugh, as if I needed another reason to dislike time travel.
I think it's super duper important that when we watch the footage of the kidnapping, that it is from the outside of her quarters and we see like Majel go and give the doorbell a ring or whatever, instead of showing footage inside, which would have major implications.
And what's going on here seems pretty pervy, doesn't it?
So they get enough information to confirm their suspicions, but not like, we're not seeing Gwyn get taken.
Right. Yeah. It's not like an 80s horror film where Gwyn is getting topless for some reason when she gets taken.
Incoming message from Jellico to Janeway, and boy, oh boy, is he pissed.
So fucking mad.
About taking the ship outside of Federation space. She's really way out there with this thing.
She really is.
Last I checked, your orders were to return to Earth.
It's like when you just get your driver's license and you're like, yeah, I'm just taking the car to my friend's place.
Yeah.
And that's the only place I'm going.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead you're like an hour away from home, like buying the family station wagon. That's what Janeway's doing here.
Yeah, Jellico is the cranky parent that knows his kid is making bad choices.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed, I don't know if you noticed this, Adam, but Jellico has the same Zoom background as our business manager with the Golden Gate Bridge behind him.
So great. Is this why I feared Jellico as soon as he appeared on screen?
Yeah.
The way that I fear our business manager?
Yeah.
I work for him, Ben.
We both do, brother. It is not the other way around. So she pretends to lose him. She does the classic, crumple up a piece of paper near the receiver to sound like static.
Edward?
I order you.
Edward? I'm losing you. We're going through a transwarp tunnel. What?
It's fun that like hundreds of years from now, that's still a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's still a reliable bit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's a bit that's 400 years old by now.
Yeah, but it didn't exist before Alexander Graham Bell, right? Like,
it's true.
It's like a whole bit was invented when the telephone was invented.
I mean, which was the more important invention by Alexander Graham Bell?
Yeah.
The phone or the bit? I mean, the bit outlasted the bell.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to get ahoy hoy to be the thing we say to each other when
Fuck that.
Fuck that shit, Alexander Graham Bell. We're not taking that. We're taking the other thing where your assistant immediately wanted to get off the phone with you because he was like, I don't know, man, this is fucking boring.
You suck, Alexander Graham Bell. And Greatest Trek is the only show with the nuts to say it.
Eat shit, inventor.
So the next shot we see is Voyager A going into the transwarp conduit.
Yeah. And we're back. The ziggurat with Wesley, who has to remind himself that he has not met the proteges yet because linear time is not something that he is used to dealing in anymore.
I just want to say that when you're a group of kids and you're meeting an adult for the first time,
mm-hmm.
and you don't have one of your adults with you, like a parent figure or whatever, the idea of Wesley at first counting the kids and then offering to change their clothes, not a great start, I don't think, if you're a kid that was brought up with any sense of stranger danger.
Right. But they say that the stranger danger thing is overblown and that we should have free range kids and
sure. How would you feel if Daron came back wearing an orange sweater after going out to play?
Who the fuck were you talking to?
You're never leaving this house again.
I suddenly become like a very authoritarian father figure.
So Dal cuts to the point. Like Wesley is very energetic about all of the places his mind and mouth go in this conversation. And Dal's like, yo, stop talking. Shut up. Where is Chakotay and where is the Protostar? Can we just stop you there?
That's the adventure, man.
Yeah.
We learned that we're halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
So episode 18 is when they'll finally get it, right?
Hey, when you're just getting to know some folks, maybe don't tell them you're their guardian angel. It's another suspicious part of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wesley's doing a ton of things that allow for the kids to be suspicious of him.
Yeah.
And they aren't outwardly suspicious, but they are a little bit irritated by him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he does say that, he's wearing a red beret and a shiny red jacket and trying to break up a gang war. So I think that they take it as what it really means, and not in a weird way.
Wesley's like, I'm a friend of your parents, and they said I should pick you up from school.
So he kind of lures them into this vault, and
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Hey, my van's just parked in the vault.
And for those of us who hadn't seen TNG before, he gives a little backstory on having become a traveler a long time ago.
And it helps that Rock Talk recognizes him. Like, the legend of Wesley Crusher is alive and well.
Member of Nova Squadron, genius of the Enterprise D, made acting ensign at age 15.
Well, I mean, not in that order, but yeah.
And I think when Rock Talk clocks him, that makes it a little more safe to be there.
It also felt a little Lower Decks, that like fans of Star Trek that live in Star Trek moment.
Yeah.
Was fun. But yeah, so the Travelers, we learn, have a pretty hands-off approach on what they do in terms of traveling all of space and time, but they have a role in the universe, which is to keep an eye on all of the various timelines and make sure that damage is not done to them, because it is a sweater-like tapestry that needs to be maintained or it will unravel. The Prime Universe is trying to exist in like multiple states at once because of the time travel paradox that Gwyn represents.
Try to grasp all of these concepts while at the same time ignoring the idea that they are in a room that most definitely locks from the outside.
Yeah. And I mean, like, is that the scary thing, or is the whole that cosmic scavengers are going to come through and devour this timeline the scary thing?
We need to score a lot of Latin fast.
We're licensed businessmen.
Well, there's a new ship. She's got the right name. She's got the right name. Now, you remember that, you hear?
The density of information in this scene is a lot. It's a lot for an adult like me.
Yeah.
You're basically on a ride here of information, and it's coming at you pretty fast. These scavengers become the main threat of the moment. It totally defangs Wesley as a stranger and someone to be suspicious of, and more like an ally, because they need to work together to avoid getting eaten by these sweater moths.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we also learned that there's like a manpower issue with the Travelers because they seem to have been combatants in the temporal Cold War. And that was gratifying to me because that column of light that Murph was talking to, like, really read as similar to the thing that Suliban dude talks to.
Great call.
On Enterprise.
Yeah.
So he has a vested interest in saving this particular universe because Mom lives here and the rest of the Travelers want to ditch it. But
Wesley's like, I think Mom still has some eggs left.
I could have a brother,
I could have another brother.
Yeah. So he's figured out a way to save the universe that involves the kids staying together as a group. And everyone literally needs to stay together by standing on glowing panels on the floor while something transpires with all of his complicated machinery.
Hey, Ben. Didn't like it when the stranger immobilized the kids. That moment didn't feel good.
Yeah. Well, Dal is not having it. He steps off his glowing panel.
Yeah.
Has a lot more questions.
Yeah, this was This is about aligning quantum signatures. There's a lot of tech happening during the exposition.
Right. But as Dal is stepping to Wesley Crusher, time kind of slows to a halt, and everyone but Wesley and Gwyn are frozen. And time itself is frozen because, like, the sand that is drizzling from the ceiling into Zero's hand has stopped moving, and the smoke that's rising from the floor has stopped moving. But there's something else moving in here, and it ain't us.
Yeah, the sounds that they hear are the same sounds that we heard when Hollow Gwyn was taken. And these moths, as described before, are given a name, and that name is the Loom. And Wesley explains that the Loom wants to consume you, where you will become converted into a thin, white, stretchy material called the Fruit.
Oh, you think it's that kind of loom? I was kind of thinking it was more like this kind of loom. You know, just like looming.
Oh, for those not watching the stream at home, Ben put his face very close to the camera.
Yeah.
I could see everything.
Yeah, I was trying to get into your nook, but, you know, you're in a different part of town than I am.
So neither of them want to become the Fruit of the Loom. So Wesley needs to get temporal stabilizers for the group of kids to be safe. And so they run and run and run until they stop, where Wesley kind of goatsies open an invisible door.
What did you just do?
And inside he finds a bunch of gear. This is just like the storage locker on the NX Enterprise.
Yeah, goes forever.
Yeah.
There's like useful stuff in the first 3 or 4 feet, you know, arms reach, and then after that it's all piss and shit.
The temporal Cold War goatsy is bottomless, isn't it?
I mean, it's like, but it's also all bottom, you know?
I mean, it isn't even gross. It's just open and it just goes and goes.
Hey, I don't think the original goatsy is gross. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's an amazing dedication to craft that it represents.
That's great.
So the gadgets are, like, I think more things that do the thing that Gwyn's armband do. That's why she's not frozen in time.
And he finds a whole stack of them in the locker. Like, he's got extras.
Yeah, he really went ham at a Chuck E. Cheese's one time and just kept getting the same prize with his stacks of tickets. So they gotta run now because one of these creatures is on them, and he seems to sort of make a Gwyn hollow with his mind for them to, you know, like that's a decoy that the creatures will go after.
That's an interesting read because I read it as it was Gwyn, but just from a different part of time.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So like Gwyn in the position at the time where she was holographically appears in the present.
Right.
As a way to throw off these, like they look like panthers covered in silly string, the Loom. That's what they look like.
They are a very scary creature design. I thought that this was a very original space monster that
I like this a lot.
Was genuinely really freaky looking.
If you're an animator and you've got a monster or an alien or whatever with a lot of hair, a lot of what looks like hair or flows like tendrils or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you love this or do you hate it?
I wondered about that. 'Cause, like, that's got to be procedural, right? Like.
Yeah. No one's hand keyframing each individual movement, right?
I was just watching there's new technology to make black hair in CG, which has been like it's been a huge challenge up until now because most of the like algorithms that are used to generate hair like are written for straight hair, and like a computer science problem had to be solved to like make hair that's like very curly and kinky like that. And one of the things in the video they said is like anytime you've seen it up till now, somebody has had to go in there and like move each vertex manually to make that hair look the way it does, and now they can do it procedurally. So
crazy.
I'm guessing this is procedural tendril.
Got to.
But I don't know.
Either way, our animators deserve a living wage.
Absolutely.
And recognition for their many contributions.
Yes, absolutely. So they make it back to the gang by like pushing a wall down a hallway like in Time Bandits, which I guess the kids are sort of becoming at this point. They make it back there. They put the bracelets on. Everybody kind of snaps back to. They seem to be aware that something weird happened.
Sure.
Like Dal isn't like mid scold when he comes to. He's like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, awareness was a part of this freezing.
Yeah. We get another run at explaining like what the bad guys are and what they do, which I was like very grateful for because I was like, I'm not even a kid, and like hearing this a second time said in different words was helpful to like get my arms around what we're dealing with.
Also, I mean, crucially, Wesley Crusher is a terrible explainer of things compared to one of the other kids when trying to convey information. Like,
right.
They're very much on each other's level for that.
Yeah. So they got to get away from these things. Phasers don't seem to work, even though they try for like quite a long time.
They seem unfazed.
Yeah, that panther loves it.
Yeah.
He eats the phasers.
Yeah. That feels like a nice massage to him. He wants more.
So the gang makes its way to the vault door, and when they open it, things dissolve to white. And after that, the group appears in a very chill 1970s style apartment that looks decorated right out of the Gary 7 catalog.
It really does. I was trying to figure out if I could get a shot of Gary 7's apartment just in image search, and I didn't see a good one to compare, but it felt like they might have designed this right off of the Gary 7 apartment.
No Terry Garr. I was looking around for her.
Okay.
Absent.
That does it. I quit.
Too bad.
You think we're going to get an animated Terry Garr character in this scene? God, wouldn't that be great?
That would be great. I hope in part 2. I mean, if that's the promise that they're kind of setting up in part 1, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, this show always delivers on its promises.
Fucking A. Speaking of promises, Janeway promised to find these kids, and sure enough, she has arrived on the Voyager A! And they're in orbit of the planet, and they like very quickly figure out how to reveal the planet to the Voyager as well.
There's coffee in that pocket of subspace.
There's like a line about like, who knows what's going on down there? And we cut to the surface where all the spooky monsters are.
I love how fast Voyager A has closed like the distance between itself and the Infinity ship. It took them 5 seconds of screen time to make it all the way there.
They did it.
Yeah.
That's the end of the episode. Adam, did you like this episode?
She'll always bring it home.
I think it's easy to be distracted by the Wesley of it all and be like, oh, if I like Wesley or if I don't like Wesley, that's how I'll know if I like the episode. But I really like how the episode leaned into how silly and self-important Wesley Crusher can sound when he's really on one.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't try to revise his character out of that and make him into like a Zephram Cochrane-style legendary figure.
Right.
That has aged into a prominence where he's a kind of way, where he's very serious and whatever. Like, he's kind of crazy still. And he's not amazing as a person. And I really like that.
Yeah. I think that mad scientist gear that Wil Wheaton was talking about in our interview is so...
Gears, even.
Yeah, because I don't think that the way young Wesley Crusher was played was that mad science-y, but I really buy that guy would age into this guy.
Totally. Yeah.
It's really fun and well done.
Yeah, the kid who was excited about the tractor beam above all other concerns in the making of that tractor beam, like, you can draw a line from that kid to this guy easily.
Yeah. What a hoot.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
It was a fun ep.
Also, like holy shit, like, all this information, like, you're crazy, guys, for this one.
There's very part 1 energy, because...
Yeah.
I was like, what's the point of having a part 1 and a part 2 in a season where, like, obviously, like, each episode stands alone, but also they are all, steps on a longer story.
Yeah.
And I think the part 1-ness of this is well earned by all this information.
Absolutely. Let's go get a different kind of information over in the Priority 1 inbox, Ben.
I would love to.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Ben, we got a promotional Priority 1 message here, and here's how that goes.
Yeah.
Ever wonder why the food replicators of Federation ships have recipes for the things they do? Well, come find out the history of lobster mac and cheese and whether that breadcrumb topping is canon or futuristic nonsense.
Whoa.
Right now, we're in the early 19th century covering Virginia hams and why Americans use their forks that way in early restaurants. But we'll get through as much of Boimler's food list as we can. Shrimp, soda, corn, steak, chicken, nugget, crispy, lemon, rock, candy, chili, gravy, chocolate, sun. That's where it cuts off.
Okay, that was the end of the allotment of characters.
Yeah, so here's the call to action. Listen to this food history pod for fun facts, a break, and to learn a little more about our national parks. The History of American Food is the name.
Wow.
And I presume you can find it wherever podcasts can be found.
Do Americans use their forks weird?
I think this is for those watching the stream.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are probably those that use it like under.
Oh.
And then those that fist it like.
Sure.
Like that, like over.
I think I do this, like hold the fork with my finger along the top of it.
What?
To like push down into the steak, and then I cut.
Interesting.
You know? Nom 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 nom. I was told when the first time I went to France not to hold my fork with my right hand because it was like considered rude there, and I've never been able to like corroborate that in France. Like it doesn't seem.
It saves you the trade-off of when you need to use a knife and fork. I'll often like have to switch hands to go dominant hand with the knife.
Right.
Why not just leave the dominant hand on that knife and fork with left?
Yeah. It sort of like depends on how ambidextrous you are, but I guess the French force the issue.
Listen to us doing the work of the History of American Food. Don't come to us for this information. The History of American Food has you covered.
They're going to know the answers to these questions we're posing. We're merely good podcasters. The History of American Food people are great podcasters. They answer the questions.
We're not trying to be a good or a great podcast. We're just trying to be a podcast and let the History of American Food podcast tell the difference.
It's rhetorical nonsense.
All right, this next P1 is also of a promotional nature. It goes like this. I'm a fellow Pole with digestion issues. So when I heard your voice begin the wholesome episode about pie, I just knew you'd bring up David Lynch. Thank you. When I was 17 to 18, when Twin Peaks and Wild at Heart came out, I just loved both. I saw Wild 3 times in the theater with 2 different dates. I think it's My Heat. And I think it's actually the better film version of Twin Peaks for the folks weirded out by Firewalk with Me. Really appreciate your straight story rec. Thanks to you all. And that's to Dear Mostly Adam, but love you too, Ben. Coffee and donuts and pie.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Alex.
That came from Alex in Kirksville.
I've been wanting to watch Wild at Heart forever, but it's one of those movies that has been lost. Like you can't stream it. You can't even buy it if you want to.
Wow.
I've only ever seen it like around LA for screenings, and I'm trying to time it in a way to where I can finally see that movie because it's only ever shown in theaters.
Wow.
Like it doesn't even exist on physical media.
Dang.
It's kind of a unicorn of a film, and I don't understand why you can't watch it if you want to. Lost Highway was the same way for a long time. Not available.
Weird.
Well, maybe now that David Lynch is dead, all of his movies can finally be watched on streaming, like we would prefer.
Yeah, as the director intended.
Uh-huh.
Thanks to everyone who got a P1 on today's episode. Follow their example and get the word out about your thing by going to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron.
Hey, Ben.
What's that, Adam?
Did you find yourself a... news breaks. Breaks. News breaks. News breaks.
Darwin is starting to anticipate that, and he got off the couch when I started accompanying you there.
That kind of Aaron Neville'd my part of that.
I mean, who else but Wil Wheaton? What a fun update to the character. What a fun... I mean, this isn't a cameo. He's going to be like a going concern. So really excited to see where things go with this. I love how much this show understands that Star Trek can be silly and fun and good, but still dorky. And like, that's all fine. Like, those are all things that it can contain. It doesn't always have to be serious and not silly.
I mean, that's really the gear. That's the magic formula of the versions of new Star Trek that I love the most. It's not just serious. Like, Star Trek has always been a little bit sanctimonious sometimes.
Sure.
But this show contains the multitude of things in a really, really great way.
Yeah.
Yours is Wil Wheaton? Or is it Wesley Crusher?
I guess it's Wesley Crusher, yeah.
Okay.
What's the difference, am I right?
You'd be a fool to choose anyone but Wesley Crusher. Yeah, absolutely the Barnus Fricks of this episode. Marooned in the ziggurat for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah, working alone the way a Barnus Fricks had to for a time. Being openly made fun of by a bunch of kids. That was fun and funny.
Oh boy, this guy is one nebula short of a galaxy.
Jenkum Pog is not gonna let silly go uncommented on.
Yeah. Not gonna happen.
Pretty fun. Fun stuff.
Wow. Well, this has been a lot of fun. We gotta leave the people with a warning, bois, don't we?
Have to. It's the rules, Ben. It's the segment of the show before the very end where we share a message written by a friend of DeSoto to just the general podcast audience, the world, as an invitation to either bring them into the fold so that they can appreciate what we do on Greatest Trek or Greatest Generation, or maybe this isn't for them.
Yeah.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning, boys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
Ben, here's a 5-star review for our hit mainline Star Trek podcast, The Greatest Generation. It's a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Headline, are you looking for a well-researched highbrow conversation about Star Trek? Body text, well, look elsewhere, fellow traveler, because this one is not for you. Adolescent jokes, on the other hand, about Worf's trouble opening doors, TNG's obsessive nuck, or the intricacies of the Klingon double dong. Welcome aboard the hood. Captain DeSoto has been waiting for you. Got to thank Person Gamma for that one. A review coming from the United Kingdom version of Apple Podcasts.
Wow.
Nice to see we're getting some action globally, wherever folks get their podcast.
Thank you, Person Gamma, and thanks to anyone who leaves a nice 5-star review of this show or TGG. We love getting them, and they reputedly help big time in floating us up in the algorithm over there. So much appreciated. With that, I think we're going to leave the rest of this episode in Wynde's capable hands. She's got a great big interview with Wil Wheaton to cut up. Be sure to leave out the embarrassing parts, Wynde.
How about no?
And all the terribly mean stuff that Wil Wheaton said about just so many people. Like, kind of shocking.
Yeah.
How dark he went.
Really is. Just leave the funny, nice parts.
Yeah, good call. He's got a podcast to sell.
Yeah. Oh, also, thanks to everyone who supported in the Max Fun Drive.
Yeah!
We really, really appreciate every single one of you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for supporting the show.
All right, take it away, Wynde. Bye-bye.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Ben and Adam will be back next week with a review of Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episode 10. It's called The Devourer of All Things, Part 2. Thanks so much to everyone who got involved with the drive this year. Members keep this podcast going year-round, and we really appreciate your support. An extra special thank you to the folks over on the USS Hood Discord server for their incredible generosity on gift memberships as well. And if you missed the drive, it just takes a few minutes to set up a membership at MaximumFun.org/join. Thank you to Nick Dittmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusia, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for their work on the Greatest Trek social media pages. Follow those accounts and use the hashtag Greatest Trek when you post about the show online. We're also on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and you can find all of the fun merch at podshop.biz. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.